The nation is once again gripped by the case of Morgan Geyser, infamous for her role in the 2014 Slenderman stabbing, a crime that shocked the country and left a lasting mark on the collective memory. Now, years later, her name is back in headlines for a very different reason: her sudden and mysterious disappearance. Geyser, who had been living in a supervised group home in Madison, Wisconsin as part of her conditional release, has vanished without a trace, leaving staff and authorities scrambling for answers. Now 23 years old, Geyser was reported missing on November 23, 2025, after staff discovered her GPS monitoring bracelet had been deliberately removed and left behind. This act, authorities say, was a calculated move, suggesting her disappearance was not a spur-of-the-moment decision, but something she had planned in advance. Law enforcement responded immediately, launching a citywide and now statewide search effort. Officers canvassed neighborhoods, set up checkpoints, and issued urgent warnings to the public, advising that Geyser should not be approached under any circumstances. Surveillance images of Geyser, captured just hours before she disappeared, have been widely circulated on social media and news outlets. These images show her leaving the facility, and authorities hope that someone may recognize her or recall seeing her in the hours that followed. Her last known sighting was with an adult acquaintance, a detail that has become central to the investigation. Detectives are working to identify and locate this individual, believing they may hold crucial information about Geyser's plans and current whereabouts. Authorities are urging anyone with information, no matter how small, to call 911 immediately. They emphasize the seriousness of the situation, reminding the public that time is of the essence in cases like this. Geyser's disappearance has reignited a heated debate about her release and the risks associated with reintegrating violent offenders into the community. Some argue that her case highlights the need for stricter oversight, while others point to the importance of rehabilitation and second chances. Her journey through the mental health and justice systems was meant to be carefully monitored, with multiple safeguards in place to protect both her and the public. Now, with her disappearance, those safeguards are being called into question, and the plan for her rehabilitation is in jeopardy. The search for Morgan Geyser is about more than just finding a missing person. It's a test of public safety, the effectiveness of rehabilitation, and the lingering shadow of a notorious crime that continues to haunt the community. As the investigation intensifies, the nation watches, waiting for answers and for closure. To truly understand the urgency and gravity surrounding Geyser's recent disappearance, we need to revisit the events that first thrust her name into the national spotlight. Our story takes us back to May 31st, 2014, in the quiet suburban community of Waukesha, Wisconsin, a place not accustomed to making national headlines. On that fateful day, 12-year-olds Morgan Geyser and Anissaweier lured their friend Paytonleutner into the dense woods at the edge of their neighborhood. What began as an innocent outing among friends quickly turned into a nightmare. In a shocking act of violence, Geyser and Weier stabbed Payton 19 times, convinced that this horrific act would appease the fictional internet character known as Slenderman. The attack sent shockwaves across the country, leaving parents, teachers, and communities grappling with the disturbing influence of online myths and urban legends on impressionable young minds. Suddenly, the dangers of the digital world felt all too real. Against all odds, Payton survived the brutal assault. Bleeding and alone, she managed to crawl out of the woods and flag down a passing cyclist, who quickly called for help. Her incredible will to survive became a beacon of hope amid the darkness. Geyser and Weier were apprehended later that same day. In chilling police interviews, the girls calmly described their actions, insisting they believed they had to kill to protect themselves and their families from Slenderman. The case ignited a nationwide debate about the impact of mental illness, the responsibilities of young people in the digital age, and the blurred lines between fantasy and reality in online culture. Both girls were charged as adults, a controversial decision that sparked further discussion. Their defense teams argued that mental health issues played a significant role in their actions, raising questions about how society should treat children who commit unthinkable crimes. Payton's remarkable recovery and resilience inspired many, but the emotional scars from that day would linger for years. Her story became a symbol of survival, but also a reminder of the trauma that can haunt victims long after the headlines fade. The Slenderman case remains a chilling example of how fiction can bleed into reality, with devastating consequences. It forced a reckoning with the power of internet culture and the vulnerabilities of youth. Now, with Morgan Geyser missing, those old fears and anxieties have resurfaced, leaving the community once again searching for answers and fearing what might come next. After the attack, Morgan Geyser's case centered on her mental health. Diagnosed with early-onset schizophrenia, she was found not guilty by reason of mental disease and committed to a state psychiatric facility. For nearly 7 years, Geyser received intensive treatment, with reports indicating her symptoms were in remission. In 2025, her attorneys argued she was ready for supervised release, supported by testimony from 3 psychologists. They recommended a group home placement, citing her stability and compliance with treatment. Prosecutors objected, citing troubling behavior and interests, but the court ultimately sided with the mental health experts. Geyser's release was a controversial decision, balancing hope for rehabilitation against public safety concerns. Her co-assailant, Anissaweier, had already been conditionally released, setting a precedent. The stage was set for Geyser's monitored return to society. In March 2025, Judge Boren granted Geyser's conditional release, but with strict rules. She was required to wear a GPS monitor at all times, live in a state-approved group home, and continue psychiatric treatment. Internet access was restricted, and contact with Paytonleutner or her family was strictly forbidden. Every aspect of her life was monitored by case managers and the Department of Corrections. Finding a placement was difficult due to public backlash, but a Madison group home was eventually secured. For several months, Geyser complied with all conditions, until her sudden disappearance. The system designed to protect the public relied on constant vigilance and technology. Now, that system has been put to the test. On November 22, 2025, Geyser was last seen at her group home with an adult acquaintance. By the next morning, she was gone, her GPS bracelet cut off and left behind. The deliberate escape triggered a statewide manhunt, with police racing to reconstruct her movements. The identity of the adult seen with her is a key focus, as investigators determine if she had help. Authorities are analyzing surveillance footage and communications to trace her steps. The escape has raised urgent questions about the effectiveness of GPS monitoring and group home security. Geyser's actions have shaken confidence in the conditional release program. Law enforcement is now in a race against time to find her before further risks emerge. In the aftermath, Geyser's mother, Angie, issued a public plea. "Morgan, if you see this, we love you and just want you safe." Her words highlight the personal tragedy behind the headlines, a mother's fear for her daughter's safety and well-being. Geyser's attorney, Tony Cotton, urged her to surrender and warned that anyone helping her could face prosecution. The Madison Police Department echoed these warnings, emphasizing the legal consequences for aiding a fugitive. The public is urged to report sightings but not to approach. These messages underscore the urgency and complexity of the search. For Paytonleutner's family, Geyser's escape has reopened old wounds and renewed fears. Law enforcement immediately notified the Leutners, who confirmed they are safe and working with authorities. Payton, who survived the attack and rebuilt her life, now faces renewed anxiety with her assailant at large. The community has rallied in support, but frustration over the system's failure is palpable. The escape is a stark reminder of the lasting impact of violent crime on victims. For the Leutners, safety and peace of mind remain paramount. Geyser's release was based on unanimous expert testimony that her schizophrenia was in remission, and she was ready for supervised reintegration. Prosecutors, however, raised concerns about her interests and communications, arguing the risk was too high. Judge Boren sided with the mental health experts, imposing strict conditions to mitigate risk. The decision reflected a belief in rehabilitation, but also the immense challenge of predicting future behavior. Now, with Geyser missing, the court's decision faces intense scrutiny. The case highlights the difficulty of balancing treatment, rights, and public safety. It's a dilemma with no easy answers. The search for Morgan Geyser is more than a manhunt. It's a test of our justice and mental health systems. As authorities comb through dense woods and neighborhoods, the case has reignited national debate about how we handle individuals with severe mental illness who commit violent acts. The public is left grappling with questions about safety, accountability, and compassion. Law enforcement's priority is to locate and safely apprehend her, urging the public not to intervene but to call 911. Officers are working around the clock, coordinating with local agencies and using every available resource, from search dogs to helicopters, to track her down. The community is on edge, but officials stress that public safety comes first. Geyser faces new criminal charges and likely a return to a secure psychiatric facility. Legal experts predict that her escape will weigh heavily in future court proceedings, making any chance of release even more remote. The justice system must now balance punishment, treatment, and the ongoing risk she may pose. Her escape will make future release nearly impossible, seen as a profound breach of trust. This incident will likely lead to stricter security protocols and a reevaluation of how such cases are managed, both in Wisconsin and across the country. The case remains a cautionary tale about the intersection of mental illness, crime, and the limits of rehabilitation. It forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about our institutions and the challenges of reintegrating those who have committed serious offenses. The hope is for a peaceful resolution and renewed safety for the community and the Leutner family. For many, the trauma of the original crime still lingers, and this escape has reopened old wounds, reminding everyone of the fragility of healing. Until then, the nation watches and waits, hoping for closure to this disturbing chapter. News outlets provide constant updates, and social media buzzes with speculation and concern, reflecting the widespread impact of the case. The story of Morgan Geyser continues to challenge our understanding of justice and recovery. It raises difficult questions about forgiveness, public safety, and the possibility of redemption for those who have caused harm. Only time will tell how it ends, but for now, the community and the country remains in suspense, searching for answers and hoping for peace.